likes tell you how to use a camera and how to attach it, the materials on left side materials library and some other stuff. So I already opened the thing on here by click file input and input a bib file I already created before. This is a glass cup and just go into a project and go into library tab. On this scene, because we use it, there is no additional cameras, just a free camera. Free camera, that means you could drag this camera by your left mouse button, hold the middle mouse button to parallel move the scenario, or if you click a right mouse button and hold it the cursor with your middle mouse button, you could zoom in or zoom out these guys. Okay, so in here has add new camera. We could also add a new camera in this place. So if you hit add camera, it's gonna automatically add the camera on this list. Let's control they go back. If I just click this icon on the left side list, it's the same effect. It's gonna automatically add another camera on the scenario. Okay, and if I click this, I can lock this camera. You cannot change this camera anymore. If you want to change, just reopen this lock and you could adjust the perspective of this camera. At this moment, let's lock it and trying to save it. Okay, let's go into a free camera because you cannot move this camera anymore. So let's go into free camera. Let's adjust and zoom out, zoom another perspective by just scroll your middle mouse buttons. Let's say this is a good perspective and added a camera 2 and locked it. And let's go back to free camera, added another camera, see if I wanna give it this perspective, and I just hit it, add a new camera on the list and locked this camera. Totally, I have 3 cameras. I can click cameras on change the perspective. You could see this 3 perspective already be shifted on this left side. And if you go into the materials tab, let's say go into the library materials. Let's go back to free camera, just that we could adjust the perspective of this glass cap. So going to the materials library, see if I want to give to a plastic, okay? I can drag it to give it to plastic materials, transparent yellow materials to this glass. I could also give it a solid matte surface to see if I give a little bit matte surface and with plastic materials, I can attach it to this material just by drawing these materials bound directly to this objective. And if you want to edit these materials, you could also right click your mouse by edit materials. You could also, if I in the scene double left click this materials, you could directly go into this window to edit your materials. In here, you could directly change the colors that you wanna. For example, we want to change to a right cap in here. See, so in your left materials library, there's so many materials you could choose. You could choose glass, metal, and plastic. See, if I don't want to choose the materials from this library, I could just go into right materials in here because we already dragged this plastic in here before. So its default is plastic. See if I just want to give to a metal, automatically change to a metal finishing by added a right color automatically. So in here, I can also edit this setting of this metal material. See if I just want to give a blue color of this metal cap. And you could also adjust the roughness of this metal to make it more rough or more gloss. So a lot of materials in here includes anodized aluminum, gloss, brushed aluminum, wood materials. You could directly change these modifiers in here. You could also choose the materials in here. Choose the paint materials, right? Choose another glass materials. But it's gonna automatically attach it the colors to preferences in here. Let's go into the environment. Environment we could also go into environment library in here. In here, we could just drag this environment to this thing. Okay, in here, the backgrounds, the color, we could just change this lighting environment so it's showing the original the light environment as the background. You drag different light environments, it's gonna have a different light environment plus the background. You could also drag this kind of environment, so it's gonna show the environment with the scenario in here. For examples, if I drag this environment to here and just rotate to make a more clear background, I could in here right side is gonna show currently the environment you already choose. In here you're gonna change some data of here. So for example, you can change the brightness of it by drag to make it more brightness or darkness. Contrast can adjust the contrast by higher contrast or lower contrast. For transformations, the size of it. Okay, the size of it. You could just click this dots to drag the size. The size of the environment. Notice this is not the size of the object, the size of the environment. Okay, if it drags to a small size, you could see this environment becomes very small. Let's drag it bigger to make the background more clear. So the height. In here, I could also try to change the environment's height. By changing the environment height, you can see the light change as well based on the height of the environment. Rotations by to drag this angles of this environment settings. It's also going to change the background change, right? So currently I used this environment as the background. If I didn't like this background, see, I feel this background is very ugly, so I want to change to a color background. I just change to a color background. The default is the green color. See, if I want to give to a red color, it's going to change to another color. See a blue color as well. Hit OK. That's it. So you could also upload a background point, backpoint information. If I hit it, you could input some background from your local library. It's the same. If I go into the backgrounds, I can input the background from my library. from my local laptop. For examples, I can drag one of this to here. It's going to automatically become this kind of image behind of this object. So in here has the grounds options, the ground shadow. If I hit the ground shadows, you could see a little bit shadows in here. So if I disable this, you can't see a shadow here. In shadow, I just give a blue-gray color in here. It's hard to say. So if I change to a red color, you could see a little bit red color beneath of this cap, right? And this is occlusion ground shadows. Default is check. If I uncheck this, you could also see changes on the grounds. This is ground reflections because this is the ground has a gloss, so this object has a reflection image beneath of the cap. If I disable the ground reflections, nothing gonna reflect on the ground. Let's hit it back again. The floating grounds. And now the grounds may be not a little bit floating. Maybe is if I hit it a floating ground, it's gonna have a little bit changes on it. You could also change the ground size. Small size. You could got the different effect of this. We could see a shadow becomes more obviously. If I change to a bigger, so the shadow gonna be. So if I just directly change to a 1000 in here, you want to see a very obvious shadows in here. Okay, we just have a basic introduction of how to use a camera, how to use the materials, how to use change some sorting in existed materials that you test it on the scenario. So see you in next lesson.